Welcome to Find the Connection, the podcast where we explore the history, development, events, and stories that make Northeast Florida so inviting. I'm your host, Kendra Robertson, a real estate professional, community leader, wellness ambassador, and proud resident of Jacksonville Beach for over 30 years. In each episode, we'll dive into the stories of the people that are making a difference, both at a local level and nationally. We'll share an inside look at real estate with tips for maintaining work-life balance, from winning your mornings to winning your day, all while staying connected with our vibrant local community. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's find the connection between community and living your best life.
Okay, today I have Kurtis Loftus with me, and he is a huge community advocate, an artist, an entrepreneur, and his most recent project has been Deck the Chairs in Jacksonville. Thank you, Kurtis, for joining me today.
Well, it's nice to be here with you, Kendra. Thank you for asking.
And it's January, so you're almost recovered from the season of monitoring lights and celebrations and all that.
For any of your audience that doesn't know what Deck the Chairs is, it's a major event in Jacksonville Beach. It's a nonprofit organization that I founded in 2013. And it's a lot of storytelling here, so I don't want to bore everyone. But we put on for about a month and a half a holiday light exhibit that features decorated lifeguard chairs. But more importantly now, we have stage programming that has expanded with Seawalk Pavilions where this thing takes place. And there's a major stage that's been used for and by event producers, I think for 35 years in Jacksonville Beach. It's a great place to showcase music and other kind of programs, usually summer and fall, spring. But our event is kind of the first to actually utilize the space in the wintertime or fall, winter, holiday season. And we use that stage for children's programming, arts programming. So this past year, we had 50 plus shows on the stage and about 1,800 kids that performed. So yeah, a lot of folks see this as a really beautiful light exhibit, very much community-based. Partnerships are wonderful. And the residents love it, the visitors love it, but we're, as an organization, we're really starting to dial in on visual and performing arts groups that we can showcase in the space, and it's gotten bigger that way. So when I finish, Kendra, it's usually not just clean up the park, but it's assessing how we did as a nonprofit, growing that aspect of the mission for us, which is students' arts, benefiting students in the arts.
Well, and the whole artist or the children artist participation has grown since you started too, correct?
Yeah, when I started Deck the Chairs, the goal was to get as many young artists involved. But, you'd have to reach out to a school, you'd reach out to groups, organizations, and you'd tell them what you were doing, and they'd scratch your head like, decorate lifeguard chairs, that doesn't make sense. How much work is it? What's the compensation? And in 2013, 14, I was designing most of the chairs, trying to get most of them built. Some of the folks that had a creative person in their shop or in their business would take it on and try to work alongside of us. But by gosh, it took forever to move this from, hey, we're looking for young artists to help us create and build and make out in that park space. And what ended up happening actually was 5 years ago, we started a student exhibit specifically, where we created chairs that were about half the size of a normal lifeguard chair, and started speaking to schools and arts programs throughout North Florida, saying, do you want to take this on? It's a 3-month project, 2 to 3 month project, but you can build it into your school year, your curriculum maybe, or make it an after school project. And we had money set aside for those groups, about $500 for, materials and support any of the cost of building. And so 22 schools now participate, and 10 of them get showcased at the zoo. So the Jacksonville Zoo took on the exhibit and has it right there at their entryway. And that runs for 5 weeks, essentially, 4 to 5 weeks. And then we have it at Deck the Chairs, a place that we carved out for the kids and there's 12 student groups at the beach. So that piece of it is probably another 800 kids, 700 to 800 kids that are building and decorating chairs. So it's really cool.
I was really impressed with the level of the project, like seeing it from the beginning and seeing the chairs this year, just the creativity. They really just got it. They got the concept of decorating the chair.
Yeah, so it's happened that several of them returned now, and they love doing it. So multiple schools doing it, year after year is helping us too, because they know what to do, what to expect, how to go about the construction. They're better at storytelling. We've got processes in place that make it a lot more efficient. And so we know what we're up against. And yeah, you just get better, over time. Just practice makes things better. So yeah, I love seeing the exhibit, because what's starting to happen, what I hope happens out there, Kendra, is so the stage programming is improving, right? So this year, for instance, the Florida Ballet reached out to us and in 2025 and wanted to be on the stage. Well, that would have never happened 10 years ago, right? You're building something, it's like kind of small, people are trying to figure out what you're doing and whether or not it's worth the energy, the resources to put something together where you're going to bring all that talent out to the beach and take the risk that it's, maybe a weekend and who knows what's going to happen with weather. There's all these things built into, that kind of a program, but there's enough good energy, enough trust, enough confidence in what we've been doing that, like I said, Florida Ballet entertained the idea. We put it on and man, it was fantastic. I don't know if you saw it, but
I didn't see it, but I remember hearing about it.
Yeah. We had it. It actually replaced Moonlight Movies because the city supports that, underwrites some of the cost of the stage, a lot of the cost of the stage, just to get that thing set, get all the lighting, all the rigging done. We bring in PRI, and they're literally spending the day out there getting it ready, or the day before. And then you have Florida Ballet. Even the stage itself had a sort of a viscar or some kind of a material that they place on the concrete floor so that your performers don't slip on the stage, right? So you have to lay out a flooring that's good for the ballet, for the performers, and you have to get everything set and ready to go. Cross your fingers, no rain, and then see how this thing works. Because for us as an organization, again, our mission, students in the arts, imagine those performers with the little kids that want to be those performers one day out in the crowd watching this thing go down. And it was free. Yeah, so what we do is, spend the entire year figuring out how we can do this massive event in public space. We don't charge admission. We don't sell alcohol. And it's family friendly. It's got a great vibe, but it's done with a lot of volunteers and a lot of time and attention paid on, like, who can handle what piece of this, or can someone help us underwrite this cost over here? So I'm constantly looking for partnerships and figuring out how it fits into the overall program, making sure that the partner's excited about the outreach and they feel good about, investing. And we pull off, a nice show for our beaches residents and all the people that come out and visit. So we are.
Light show has even advanced. I mean, you have the Whoville-inspired tree that had a whole new lighting system this year, but you also had everything connected in front of the stage.
Yeah, and then think about this, whatever we do there, it's always going to be built around cost and maintenance, because, you have to run that thing in outdoor space. It's lights, it's electricity, it's, this, you operate, a light event in the Northeast Florida, at the town center there, and electricity and water do not like each other. So you end up constantly working to make sure whatever you're designing and building out there is, you can manage it, keep it lit, because again, it's a free event, but if the lights go down or if they're not working or half of them are working, you'll get, some people griping about that stuff. But yeah, the show's beautiful. I think it worked really well this year. It was a new show. Definitely the tree and the art on the tree. So you said Whoville tree, which is the perfect description. It's 30 feet tall. And it's a digital, it's got pixel lights on it, and there's 8,000 plus pixel lights. And that makes up the surface of the tree. There's 100 no, I'm sorry, about 76 straps with about 100 pixel lights each strap that runs vertical. And we have to install all that. And then it's programmed out by a really master genius kind of guy that can put, like an LED board. He could put graphics. He had Santa Claus flying around the tree this year. He had reindeer dancing on the tree this year. Beautiful graphics that he incorporated into the tree. And it's like the big thing everyone takes pictures of. People video it. They take photos. They get photos in front of it. They propose in front of it. There have been all sorts of beautiful things that happen around that tree, like Whoville. It's just got this magical space to it. And we got to keep that running and, reinvest in that thing. And then the stage itself, as you said, that is one other place where we could probably invest a little more just to make it more attractive, make it that much more magical if you're coming out to see, performance. But it's all money, Kendra. It all takes a lot of time, money, planning, a board that loves on this thing. Our board is a working board, so everyone has to be busy on a committee, and it'll tire you out.
So who is it? Still you that's like going around making sure things are plugged in? And
I mean, yeah, it's unfortunately because it's basically been a working board. For 13 seasons, I've been deeply involved in the management of the event, and the board that we have now, it's a great board that sees some of the things that I'm trying to do. So as the founder of this, and right now the executive director, there's still visioning happening in my head. And we're trying to settle a couple things that we know will allow us to be sustainable. Because that's hard. It's like, this is public space. You got agreements with the city. You've got, certainly now that it's regional and its expanse and how people get attracted to it, you've got this level of responsibility that requires bigger partners. You're hand-holding a little bit more as you move through a year. And you're trying to do other fundraisers. You're trying to actually introduce a few other programs during the year. So it's not strictly just Deck the Chairs that you're doing. So it's taken...
How did you partner with the zoo? Like, I remember when Anne-Marie with Beaches Go Green had her big recycling play.
Yeah.
She put it over there at one point. Was that part of it, or?
So it's really interesting. The zoo in 2014 or 15, 10 years ago, the zoo asked to be out at Deck the Chairs, and all they wanted to do was cross-promote. It was like, if we come out there, we'd love to set this up. We'd like to be able to talk to your beach's audience because they don't always come out to the zoo, and we think this would be great just for some cross promotion. And we did it, and then they realized how much work it was. It was like, holy cow. We had to travel all the way out there. We did a big install. Whether or not their first couple of nights were big nights, 2014, 15, it was still kind of small. If we would have a night where we programmed and the stage would get busy and there'd be a lot of people around the park and it'd be great. And then there'd be the next night, it might quiet down, right? Because kids are back at school. The season is, not going to attract that many until the weekend. It comes back up again, or maybe it's Christmas time. So back in 2014, 2015, our trends with the numbers and the crowds and how they would visit Deck the Chairs was a little different than it is now. And nowadays they're there all the time. They just love the experience. They know a lot of people come out on what they think are the quiet nights just to, have what would be a few hundred or whatever people in the park instead of thousands, right? But the zoo liked it. They came back, asked again in 2023. What we were doing is the student decorating challenge. We pitched it to the city of Jacksonville because I wanted to do some outreach with that particular program. And so I asked the city of Jacksonville if they would host it in their James Weldon Johnson Park. So that was the first year. I convinced the board, let's put this one exhibit in James Weldon Johnson. We'll keep the other exhibit here at the beach. So the student decorating challenge was that outreach for us that could extend across the ditch or, across into downtown. And then I think it was 2024 and 2025. Yeah. So 2024, the zoo started talking to us, and I asked them at the time, would they be interested in the exhibit? Because it was great to be in downtown Jacksonville, but we still couldn't get enough visitors, enough, residents into the space. Just too hard. And I wanted eyeballs on the creative work that the kids were doing. I didn't want them to work all year or not all year, but 3 months and then not have enough people seeing or viewing their work. So the zoo took it on in 2024. It was great. They loved it. And it came back, said they wanted to do it again. So we just set a new agreement for 2025, kind of rearranged some things to make it a little easier. And now we think that's probably one of those relationships we'll keep going for, years to come.
Is that the only other display you have within the city besides in the pavilion? Is that the zoo?
So we have 12 student decorated chairs at the pavilion, and then we have 10 student decorated chairs at the zoo. So yeah, we just, so when we start talking to these student programs, we assign based on where they want to be. And so if they want to be at the beach, we assign them at the beach. If they want to be at the zoo, because some of these are literally naturally fit for the zoo, just based on where they're located. So it's been good. Yep.
So having the performances brings people to watch the performances, and then that creates a bigger crowd for Deck the Chairs, period. I mean, have you seen with more stage programming, bigger crowd?
Yeah, so here it is. This is kind of the magic. We already knew nighttime was going to be difficult for stage. Just, kids on the stage in the night and trying to coordinate that, manage it, light it, mic it, all of that kind of stuff. I realized early on how tough and costly and even risk associated that could be. So what was starting to happen is it took place in the pandemic when the other places around Jacksonville kind of shut down, auditoriums shut down. People couldn't put their dance programs on, the holiday shows on. Said some of them found us because we were still going to do Deck the Chairs. That's when I was like, wow, there's enough people that, would like this space to do performances. But the only way I could see us doing it at the time was daytime, during the day, which makes perfect sense now because you're like, why not? Go ahead and, the park may not look that cool. It's not as beautiful. It's not all lit up, but if we can slowly make the park better, more accommodating, prettier, decorations, even during the daytime, and add the kids' programs on the stage, instead of maxing out everything at nighttime, we could actually bring people out into the space and have them 2:30 in the afternoon till 5:30, 6:30 at night in our park, enjoying the sessions, enjoying the exhibits. Those exhibits, especially now, the kids, what they're doing, I mean, you don't have to turn lights on to make those things pretty. So everyone telling a story a little bit better. We're prepping the exhibit a little better. And so daytime, for those parents and the people in Jacksonville, the folks that know us, they're starting to come, you're right, during the day. And they're not that we're looking at, it's all about our numbers. As a matter of fact, it's a little nerve-wracking the more people you add. I mean, it really does. We're at that place now, just ensuring the park and making sure everyone continues to be safe and it's secured properly. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. You have to literally go, okay, how big is too big, and do we need to pull back on some things? Because I don't want to create something in that space that causes consternation with our visitors. And sometimes people that your senior citizens love coming to the park and seeing the lights. There's handicap accessibility. There's like all sorts of kids that are, from 5 to 12, and that age group they got a lot of energy. So when you start putting, lots of people in the park, your responsibility starts to creep up a lot. And we're managing that the best we can, Kendra. But it's better to put them there in the daytime and run this thing so that it's safe. And then let the park be open for the other visitors that want to see lights at nighttime. But we're not I used to be really stoked with numbers. Nowadays, it's like, we're fine. This isn't a tourism development piece. It's really kind of like a community piece that has, at its heart and soul, the arts. And that's where our focus, that's where our focus is going to be.
It becomes a holiday tradition for a lot of families.
An experience. Yeah. You want the experience to be really kind of the same year after year. You want the same kind of magic. You want the same kind of ways. The one comment that seems to override all the comments is we love it as a tradition, like you said, And there's this understanding that when they get there, they know the vibe is going to be happy. They know that there's going to be kids enjoying their time with the parents and having their cocoa and maybe on the stage for, one of their performances. And if we're fortunate, they stick around and watch some other performances. But it's just so uniquely Jacksonville Beach in North Florida that now it's become a staple. Yeah. We got to keep that. We definitely got to keep that tone. We don't want it so big and so obnoxious that it's not fun to come to.
It's been really fun to see the evolution and just see it from the beginning. And
you remember that, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And you've still got a lot of the same sponsors from the beginning that are involved in it, which is a true testament. So you have always been very involved in the community. And I know that this was kind of a byproduct of that, but how did that start? Like, you've been an advocate for so many different causes. Like, where did that all start?
It's a good one. I've wrestled with that for, the back half of my life. You get to a point where your career, I've had a couple careers, by the way, ideas, things that I launched, things I wanted to do. One was a surf magazine when I was in my late 20s, and I did that for about 3 years. And then I wrapped it up and started doing graphic design and had an advertising boutique at the beach, which was unusual. But I had a lot of Jacksonville clients, and I did really pretty well with that advertising boutique. And that's when you do find yourself engaged with businesses and nonprofits. So I started doing some nonprofit work pro bono all the way back to, the earliest days in the 90s. I was doing, my ad business and taking on pro bono work. Loved the pro bono work when it fit the community and sort of that, I could start naming some of these nonprofits that were true, community nonprofits founded by people in the community, built up, sustained that way. And I think what was going on for me, and I'm going to say this, it may sound weird, but I was such an Army brat, when I was young. And from the time I could remember anything, we were moving always, and every 2 years. And so from birth till 12 years old, we moved every 2 years. Hated it. The fact that I had to make new friends. Never felt comfortable. I had to sort of become a person that wasn't even really himself because he just didn't know how to fit in. So you got to force fit yourself into a place. And it definitely made an impression on me. So by the time I got to Florida, my parents divorced, and I'm in St. Augustine, and I've fallen in love with the ocean and surfing, there were kind of two things I wanted to do. I was like, I'm going to stay in this Northeast Florida area. I had some ideas about going to California or going to a bigger city and, making my mark in a bigger city. But it was just North Florida. I loved the small/big things that it had. Felt like, this is now, literally, I graduated at 85, so you're going to hear how old I am. So 1985, I graduated from UNF. I'm married. I'm going to set my roots. I'm going to create a business, and I'm going to just see what happens. But always in the back of my mind, community, relationships, what's your part in this, the story, the fabric of the community. And I knew if you cared enough and tried, you could help. It was one of those things, I can help this over here. I can do this over here. That'll make a difference. Small or big, I can just do these things. And I did it for a little while just as a way to satisfy whatever that ego thing was. I'm doing these 10 things and this all feels really great, until it became really too hard. And there were a lot of problems with that. I'll say it this way, sort of a transactional idea about how I did work and how, who I was as an artist, as an individual. And there was always sort of even if I was donating my time, there was always sort of this, what am I getting out of it? Or what does it mean? How does it look? What is it, And so by the time 2013 happened and I had done all this work and I had been stretched myself way too thin and had some other things going on in my life, just emotionally and just a lot of things, I just hit a wall, and I just had to kind of reassess. And
Is that about the time that you gave up drinking?
yeah. Well, there were two things that happened. 2014 is when I stopped drinking and was in a recovery program. 2013 is when some events took place that were really they shook me. They were like, oh my gosh, this is reckless. You're not happy at all. And I launched Deck the Chairs that year for weird reasons. It was like the fact that I even did it that year doesn't make sense. I can't even none of it makes sense. But after finishing it, I do know in 2014, I was like, this thing is so simple and pure. And it so seems to fit like some of the things that are deeply meaningful to me. Like it fit me from an artist standpoint. It fit me from a community standpoint. It fit me from, just even building something, trying to make something. It just fit. And I just decided to commit to that thing and start to let go of a bunch of other things. So it was a sort of stripping down time in my life, 2014, 15, 16. And we literally, because of Deck the Chairs and the cost of getting this thing off the ground, it took 2 houses because we had 2 homes and we let them both go. And my wife and I, she was willing to do it crazy enough. People would think we were crazy. The family thinks I was crazy. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? It doesn't make sense. And I was like getting smaller and, getting rid of things that I didn't think were important and trying to see how this thing that was getting established was going to grow and whether or not I could just take some of the risk, if you want to call it that, some of the real courage about being that vulnerable. Because it was like, without a doubt, people are judging you from a city standpoint, politics, what's going on, money's going on, family relationships are going on. Everything is like heavy from a pride, ego side, right? I literally was like, oh my gosh, if this doesn't work, this is all that stuff you do. And year after year after year, Kendra, it's like, I'd be finishing the event and going, how did it happen? How do we pull this off again? How are we really sitting here with this kind of project still happening? I tell people it's like the biggest art project I ever took on in my life is, Deck the Chairs. But now it has gotten really big and we are assessing again how the organization's structured and what we're going to do to move forward. But super honored to like being in it. And I say this, it's in part, if I hadn't put down the drink, there's no way this thing would still be happening. There's absolutely no way. I know my personality. I know everything about it now.
I think sometimes too, I totally relate to just having too much going on. I in the last few years have really tried to evaluate my volunteer card, and my volunteer card is very full, So I totally understand that, like this year, it's like, what is truly bringing me joy? What do I want to continue to do?
Yeah. Well, for me, I feel like I have to be useful. That's just me. I just feel at my best when I'm engaged, whether it's in relationships or whether it's in my work. I just love being engaged in life. I think it's a blessing to have health. I think it's a blessing to be able to wake up and go surf or go run, 5 miles or run a marathon. It's all of those things.
Tell me about the Guinness World Book of Record. I distinctly remember you doing it, but why did you? Okay, I have to back up. What was it? It was the Guinness World Book of Record of surfing.
Yeah, it was a marathon surf session. And at that time, it was 2011. I'm turning 50. And I've been raising money for the Donna Foundation, and Donna Deegan has this breast cancer marathon thing, and it's a beautiful organization. I was running it all the time, raising money. Her husband and I, Tim, we know each other really well. And I had, started with them in like 2002, once that foundation got going and they set the marathon up. And I was actually their marketing person for a while. So 2003, 4, I was all the way till 11, I was just raising money if I could. Back to here, we're going to try to raise some money for the foundation. So I was using artwork and producing all sorts of creative stuff and selling it and raising money. And then one day, 2010, I think 2011, I'd run out of ideas and it's just too long of a story, but I was watching a little TV show on the barbershop, getting my hair cut, and it was like July, of 2011. And they're talking about world records, and I'm thinking in my head, yeah, that's all it was. Someone was doing a world record, and I'm like, well, I wonder if anyone had ever set a surfing world record. Maybe the longest surf session. I could probably, raise some money that way. That's all it was. And I get home and research it, and it's like 2010, someone had broke the world record for surfing, spent the time in the water. It was 26 hours and a minute in the water. That would, a minute. And they had caught 147 waves. And this young kid in California did it. I'm like, are you telling me 26 minutes? 26 hours in a minute? 1 minute? If I do 26 hours in 2 minutes, that gets me a marathon right there. So it already was like worth me even pursuing it. And so long story short, in 2011, I paddled out in the ocean, surfed for 30 hours essentially, and set a world record. I caught about 315 waves, crushed the previous world record, and raised about 11 grand for 26.2 with Donna. So I went into the record books. I mean, I literally got the plaque. I got all the accolades. It's crazy. But think about this, Kendra. So that's 2010. And I'm just 3 years away from me hitting a real wall. So even that record, as I look back and see all the videos and look at who I was and what was going on, I'm like, man, I don't know that man. I mean, that man was kind of a lot of different parts and pieces of some things that were just put together and not in complete honesty or, really the kind of person that I wanted to be. So it was like, did it. And it was great. The money raised was great, but I was still headed towards learning a lot more about myself. And by the way, I went back out in 2021, 10 years later, I did it again. And I actually...
You do it again.
Because Guinness wouldn't qualify it. So even though I broke the record again, the Guinness people would not qualify it. So in 2021, I went for 32 hours and caught like 600 waves. And there's pictures of it, and there's all that. I raised money again. But this time I did it for Deck the Chairs. And so I had one qualified world record and another not qualified, but I was out in that ocean for 32, 33 hours. Crazy.
What time of year did you do it?
September.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just still kind of getting cool, but not bad. And you have to wear a wetsuit. The waves were great. I mean, I caught so many waves. I wanted to get 1,000 waves before I came in. And I was on track because it was like, I don't know, sometime early in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, I was telling a buddy of mine that was out there with me, I was like, I think I can get 1,000 waves. I've already got almost, 550. But the waves died, and I got to about 600, and I was like, I'm done. I got plenty.
So when I ran into you at Deck the Chairs, you were injured. You were like with a crutch.
So two things were going on, and we've talked about them both, and I don't mind sharing them both now, and it ties into my other podcast, or my podcast. So we talked about my cancer diagnosis, and so that was last year that I was under treatment. I got diagnosed the year before, so it was 2024, going through treatment, finishing in November, just ahead of Deck the Chairs in 2024, radiation on the prostate. I'm on was on a testosterone suppressant, stage 3, a lot of cancer. It was crazy. And so when I did Deck the Chairs in 2024, it was brutal. I mean, it was a lot of work. And so 2025, I'm coming off of it. I've decided in 2025 early that I tried to get a podcast going with a friend of mine who also was diagnosed with cancer. We wanted to talk, called Not Strong. We wanted to talk about our the spirit part of ourselves. Also talk about our emotional selves and our physical well-being and all that, but also lean into what we think is that mystery, the divine spirit or the human spirit. So that was launched, and we talked about both of those things. So I was telling you a little bit about my cancer. It's great. My numbers, my PSA is great. They released me. The docs, we'll call it the oncologist, just saw me last week, and they said, you don't need to come back. If you want to come back in a year, you're welcome, but just visit your urologist. And then, my leg had fallen on my one wheel, setting up deck of chairs. It was Black Friday, and I ride a one wheel, Kendra. I still try to surf. I still want to wake for it. I'm like this 64-year-old idiot that still has. Is that a good word to use on these things? So when
you're saying it yourself, I think it's fine.
Okay, right, good. So, anyways, I've been told many a time by friends, family. It's like, Kurtis, you got to stop doing stuff like that. But I fell on the one wheel and torqued out this right leg again, and it's getting better. But boy, deck of chairs was hard. And so you saw me hobbling around on the crutches because that's the only way I could get around, and I still have brace that I use. I still am, just getting it back to not normal because it's a busted up leg, but it's improving. So thanks for asking about that. How's your swimming going?
We swam this morning.
So are you still out of, you're finally wearing some wetsuit or rubber or something, right?
Yeah, so this year I made it to January 2nd without putting a wetsuit on.
That's what I meant to say. You're wearing rubber finally.
I've taken it on and off. Like I've been if the combined air temp is higher than 110, I try not to wear it, So like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I didn't wear it. But today with the wind chill was like 22 air temp and the water was about 52. So it was very hard getting in. And then of course I like to take my wetsuit off in the water because it just slides right off. But walking from the ocean to my car is like free cryotherapy. Of course, I'm like, people pay for this.
I know. So I did this the other day thinking about you. I wanted, and I told my wife, I was like, I got to try this because some of your friends are I'm hearing it enough. I got to get back into either a cold bath or go do the cryotherapy, something. So I went ahead and threw all the ice I had into the tub the other night with some water, and it's not even that cold, right? And I tried to step down into that and sit in it. Couldn't do it. Kendra, I could not do it. It's just...
it's crazy. So I think because I'm moving, it makes a difference. I went out to Vegas last year for a conference, and I went hiking for the day, and I was in an Airbnb that had a pool, and it wasn't heated. And I'm thinking, okay, I've been hiking all day. I'll get in this pool and kind of do the cold plunge, and it'll like help with my recovery. I couldn't last more than like 2 minutes. I mean, I was like, how could I swim for like 40 minutes in,
so interesting.
Water, and I can't last 2 minutes in a ice bath, it is.
Isn't that interesting? Wow. Yeah. Well, my hat's off to those folks that I want to try it. I need to do it just because I know it's good for the body. I just know it. Everyone, swears by it. And I think the docs are even kind of finally saying, yeah, this is probably a pretty good thing. Just healing, right? It helps in healing. It helps your endorphins. It helps all your everything. Fires you up. Gets you kind of like going.
I mean, the first cold day that we had in December, we were all giddy. We were like excited. Like it's cold, So yeah, we all get out smiling and laughing. And
how many are doing it right now?
There is probably like 6 to 8. Not everybody's every day, but there's that core group that show up pretty much every day. So
cool.
Yeah. In the summer, this group can, on a Saturday, Sunday, 50 people could be arriving to swim. But when it gets cold, it definitely thins out. All right. So your podcast's not. I know you just lost your partner in that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So Tim Hamby, we had a pretty aggressive cancer, colon when we started. He had about 6 months to 7 months before this thing got back on him, though. And I didn't think it was going to be that fast. He didn't think it was going to be that fast. So he started back towards some treatments, and things went a little sideways they put some dyes in you. They go ahead and, checking how the cancer is, where it's at. And he had some real pain in his stomach. It's all in the abdomen area, where it starts to migrate, metastasize. And, he just... some complications, and he never came out of the hospital, which was the crappy thing because we had done a podcast together and literally looked great, sounded great, everything was awesome, and within 10 days he was gone. 12 days.
So was that podcast like a partnership? Like the two of you said we should do this?
Yeah, I said to Tim, because I knew his heart. He had done the marathon with me, so we really got to know each other during the surf marathon 2011. And his business was like mine, a marketing advertising business. He was super talented. Guy was a rock star in the advertising world, actually in your real estate world. So back in, let's just say 96 to 2011, 2010, I think is when he finally closed the doors. It was called Renaissance Group or Renaissance Creative. And if you look up some of their history, powerhouse. They did some fantastic work. They had big clients. It was a $10 million entity. I mean, he was rocking it, and a lot of respect and very talented. So I knew him from that because we traveled in the advertising circles, but he also helped me with the surf marathon, wrote a story, had it published in Inertia. He was just a cool guy. And when he shared on social media that he was going through it, I'm like, well, dude, let's talk about this, because men, I learned from recovery, men don't talk. Men hide this stuff. They don't like to be vulnerable. They don't like to share stories. They're just like, nope, I ain't gonna. Some of them don't even like to go get tests. It's like, forget it. I'm not even gonna get a test. I don't care. I'm fine. I'll be good. And my hope when talking to Tim was, can we just be encouraging people? Like, this stuff is going on, but it's not everything. It's not about, who you are. It doesn't define who you are. This is, in fact, you're probably made stronger because of some of the stuff you're going through. And we did 25 podcasts.
Nice.
Yeah. So we have 25 of them up. Again, Spotify, YouTube. Yeah, we probably have about 50 people following us. It's small. But
are you going to continue?
So I did one the other day with Tim Deegan. I posted that up, and that was a good one. I really enjoyed doing that. And I did one with a guy that's a surf guru guy that follows the waves and puts surf maps up online, but he's also got a pretty strong spirit. And his name's Chicky Domain.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm going to do another. Yeah, I want to continue to speak to men and get into this aspect of our lives that really just, it's kind of like that surrender place. Like when everything else isn't working, when you really just have to kind of lean into something stronger, bigger than yourself, whatever that is. How does it work for you? What do you do? And I'm curious about that. I love mystery. I love life on, this kind of, I just live gratitude, right? Live every day, just like today's special, go at it, enjoy it. It's not going to be always great, sunshine, roses, but you can be someone, that will, even in the crappy times, give to someone else something, meaningful, useful. Just don't isolate. I think that's the deal. Be by yourself and enjoy time alone. That's good stuff. But man, there's something about relationships and discovering how really deep you can go in relationships that I'm curious about now. So Tim was willing to do that with me, and his wife and kids were fantastic. I was asked to do the eulogy. It was huge. I've never done a eulogy before, and what an honor. So yeah, this whole year what I'm doing is I'll do the podcast, and it'll be in his honor, and we'll speak about him before I go into whatever the story is. But that's just, I want to recognize Tim for the rest of the year in the podcast. So Not Strong, is, like I said.
OT, is that what it is?
Yeah. It's kind of hard to find, but it's on, like I said, YouTube and Spotify.
Okay. Cool. So what's in your future besides just maintaining?
Yeah, thank you. I'm doing this whole thing with the organization Deck the Chairs, a restructure, and that's really important right now. I think the next 3 months are going to be a lot of time and energy and meetings with the board, meeting with people, stakeholders that have been with us, that know who we are. Everyone sees us as an event, Kendra. This is the big challenge, right? They love the event, but we are an arts organization and we do other things. And even if we're growing the programs that are out at Deck the Chairs, we launched, the Deck the Bins thing where we decorated trash bins with kids' art. Yep. And that was huge. It was like outreach. that impacted 400 entries, and 72 of those kids all got $100 and all had artwork placed on these trash bins. And it's a year later, and those things are still up. So stuff like that is what I want to do. What I want to, continue to build on with the relationships we already have. I mean, think about this, Kendra, 13 years with the city, like managing an event where the city is happy with you. Like that's crazy. Think about it. Yeah. They're like, and I know what we bring to the city of Jacks Beach, and it's meaningful. It's great, but they've grown with us. They want to see it continue too. But I think they're changing the park space a little bit from what I hear. And I've told the board, hey, this park is going to change, and we got to kind of change along with it. When I heard they were doing it a year ago, 2 years ago, it freaked me out, right? It was like, what are you doing? Why are you changing this? And now I'm realizing, wait, that's not our job to hold the city to a certain kind of alignment with the park and whatever. Our job is just to continue to host something special in the space, however that space looks, and do our thing with these other arts projects that we want to launch. So that'll chew up a bunch of my years, making sure, and we're calling it Students in the Arts. So you're getting a little whiff of what we're doing, but it's called Students in the Arts Alliance. They've got a wonderful mission. Deck the Chairs will be the flagship program. We'll do other things. We want to do some outreach with other parts of the city. And I think if people are like trying to figure out how to work with governments, we might be able to help. And so really just from a arts organization standpoint, I think we're learning. We've learned a lot. We're still learning. So I want to provide those kind of tools for other organizations and try to surf again too. I want to surf, Kendra. I haven't surfed in like 3 months, 4 months. Ugh. That would be good. That would be good.
Thank you. Thank you for all that you do for our community, for just everything you've done over the years. It's always such a pleasure to bump into you and catch up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, of course, you as well. Thank you for what you do. I know there's, like you said, that volunteer hat. We talked about it. It's like, woo, it can be something, right? But I appreciate you, Kendra, and look forward to all the work that you got going on this year, and anything you guys need from us, Town Center or whatever's going on in your life, let me know. I always enjoy talking to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Find the Connection. I hope today's episode gave you some helpful insights and inspired you to get involved in your community. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave a review. It helps others find us. And if you're interested in making a move or learning more about Northeast Florida, reach out to me anytime. Let's keep finding the connection together. Until next time, stay connected and keep thriving.